At JPMorgan, an AI agent just drafted an entire investment banking presentation. Time taken, 30 seconds. The same deck used to take junior analyst hours. And that's not the only thing AI is doing on its own there. Right now, JPMorgan is running more than 450 of these AI agents in live production, drafting M&A memos, settling trades, catching fraud in real time, all backed by an $18 billion annual technology budget. Nobody approved each step individually. The AI just did it, and JPMorgan isn't even unusual anymore. This is happening across the entire finance industry right now, in ways most people have no idea about. So let's actually define what we're talking about, because agentic AI gets thrown around a lot, and most explanations make it sound more complicated than it is. A chatbot answers a question. You ask, it responds. You decide what to do with the answer. An agent finishes a job. Picture a loan application coming in online. An AI agent pulls the application, reads the uploaded documents, cross-checks the applicant's information against credit databases, flags anything unusual, makes a lending decision based on the bank's criteria, and sends the approval or denial, all without a loan officer touching it. That's not a hypothetical. That is happening at banks right now. The agent doesn't wait for permission between steps. It plans, it acts, it checks its own work, and it moves to the next task. It looks similar on the fraud side. Mastercard's AI system now screens more than 160 billion transactions, looking for patterns no human team could track in real time, deciding in milliseconds which ones to flag, which to block, and which to let through. No analyst is sitting there approving each of those 160 billion decisions. The agent is making the call, and the adoption curve on this is steep. In 2026, 44% of finance teams are already using agentic AI, a jump of over 600% in a single year. KPMG estimates global spending on agentic AI hit $50 billion in 2025 alone, and Deloitte expects half of all companies already using generative AI to be running agentic pilots by 2027. This isn't limited to investment banks drafting memos either. Bridgewater Associates, one of the largest hedge funds in the world, is using agentic AI to shape its investment strategies. MUFG is using it to improve sales conversions. Rocket Mortgage has agents running parts of its call centers. Even personal finance apps like Bud Financial are using agentic AI to manage money on behalf of individual users. Different companies, different corners of finance, same underlying shift. AI that doesn't just inform a decision, but makes it and acts on it. Here's what makes this different from past waves of automation: the pace. According to MIT Sloan Research, employees already believe AI is handling 23% more of their workload than it was just a year ago, and they expect that to climb to 46% within 3 years. That's not a slow-moving trend you can watch from a distance. That's a shift you're already standing inside of, whether your company has a strategy for it or not, and that's exactly where the real problem starts. 99% of companies say they're planning to put AI agents into production. Only 11% actually have. That gap of 88 percentage points isn't caution. It's a governance problem. Most companies don't have the data quality, oversight, or controls in place to actually trust an autonomous system with decisions that move real money. And once these agents are live, they're stepping straight into one of the most heavily regulated environments that exists. Banks deploying agentic AI still have to follow the same rules everyone else does. SOX, GDPR, MiFID2, and now the EU AI Act, layered on top of an entirely new kind of system regulators have barely started writing rules for. Ask yourself a simple question. If an autonomous agent wrongly denies someone a loan or executes a trade that loses millions, who's actually responsible? The bank? The software vendor? Right now, in a lot of cases, nobody has a clean answer. Think about what that actually means for an ordinary person. Imagine applying for a mortgage and an AI agent denies you because of a data error in a system nobody checks closely enough, and it takes months before anyone even realizes the mistake happened. That's not a far-off hypothetical. It's the exact kind of failure mode that shows up when speed outpaces oversight. We've already seen what happens when an automated financial system runs without enough oversight, even without anything as sophisticated as today's AI. In 2012, a single faulty piece of code at Knight Capital, one of the largest trading firms on Wall Street, went live on one server. In 45 minutes, it executed 4 million unintended trades across 154 stocks. The company lost $440 million before anyone could shut it down. And that system wasn't even intelligent. It was simple rule-based automation that malfunctioned. Now picture that same lack of oversight, but with a system making dozens of independent decisions a minute across loans, trades, and fraud alerts, built to act exactly as instructed even when the instructions are wrong. And the returns on all of this haven't caught up to the hype yet either. Boston Consulting Group found the average return on AI investment in finance still sits around just 10%, while most companies are targeting 20% or more. About a third of finance leaders say they've seen little to no measurable value so far. So let's be clear about what's actually happening. This is not a guaranteed win. It's a high-stakes bet, and most companies are placing it without the safety net they think they have. But here's the other side of it. Because when this is actually done with real oversight, the results are genuinely strong. Not hype, measurable. One U.S. bank rebuilt how it writes credit risk memos using AI agents and saw a 20 to 60% jump in productivity, with credit decisions turning around 30% faster. Across the industry, companies that deploy these systems well are averaging more than double their investment back within about 13 months. And the very best performers are getting $8 back for every dollar they put in. And it's not just a win for the balance sheet. At organizations with advanced agentic AI adoption, 95% of employees report higher job satisfaction, not lower, because the agents are taking the repetitive parts of the job, not the meaningful parts. So what separates the companies winning at this from the companies quietly losing money on it? It's not the technology. Everyone has access to roughly the same tools. It's whether a human is still in the loop on the decisions that actually matter. In practice, that looks like 4 things. Approval thresholds that force human sign-off above a certain dollar value, audit trails on every decision an agent makes, regular human review of the edge cases an agent flags as uncertain, and routine bias and accuracy checks instead of a one-time test before launch. EY's own regulatory analysis on this is worth repeating. Institutions deploying agentic AI with strong governance aren't running into more regulatory friction. They're the ones demonstrating leadership, and regulators are noticing. Good oversight isn't the brake pedal on this technology. It's the seatbelt that lets you actually drive fast. And that's exactly the kind of role we talked about in the last video. Someone whose entire job is directing and auditing these systems, not running the numbers by hand. So here's where this actually leaves us. Gartner expects 40% of business software to be running tasks like this autonomously by the end of this year. Not some distant future, the end of 2026. Remember that gap we talked about? 99% planning, only 11% actually live? That gap is the opportunity. The businesses and professionals who come out ahead in the next 2 years won't be the ones who avoided AI agents, and they won't be the ones who blindly trusted them either. They'll be the ones who learn to direct them, fast enough to capture the productivity, careful enough to never become the next cautionary tale. Next time on AI Capital Code, we're going somewhere this gets personal. Should you actually let AI manage your own money? Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if your company is already using AI agents, tell me in the comments what it's actually doing for you.